On this point, Wyatt, I have a question for you and anyone else that knows about this. Why haven't we seen Russian air power in this war?
Because
you don't need
they weren't
You
able to
don't need
destroy. Wait, go ahead, Captain. My bad.
Why do we need the air power to hit what?
You
don't need it.
Wait,
Like,
power is
think about it.
is one of the most effective
Think about
force
it differently.
multipliers you can
They
have.
roughly Ukraine has 45 million people population. Do you know what is the effective number of fully conscription, like the Ukraine did? Perhaps 15 million people, and they only managed to muster 1 million people. Why? Because they don't support this war.
No.
That's why.
No.
The numbers
I mean,
themselves speak.
What was it the French had about in World War II, which was a much more bodied war, I would put it, at around what, 5 million, 7 million at max?
So why haven't we seen the Russian Air Force again? Like that's
I can answer this question. From my point of view, is they have so much rockets, they shoot at so much rockets. Why do you need airplanes that can be shot down with the plane and pilot can die also? When you have like thousands of rockets every day, like people ask.
So I can answer that question if you want. To answer that question, an Su-34 can carry 12 tons of guided munitions, right? 24 tons of guided munitions. One caliber rocket is 1 ton. A caliber rocket costs $1.5 million. 24 tons of guided munitions costs about $2.5 million. The Su-34 can deliver that all day, all night, one after the other, right? Air power is a fantastically cheap way of dropping a bunch of.
How much does the plane cost?
So why
and how much does the pilot cost?
Do you think that's why they're not using it? Because they're afraid of the anti-air?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Okay, fair enough.
You gotta take care of
that was my question. That's where I'm getting at. Like, I wonder about that. You know?
Like, Ukraine inherited a huge stockpile of the ex-Soviet anti-aircraft weapons because the Soviet Union was totally in on anti-aircraft because the West was aircraft all the way, and they couldn't match that. So the Soviet Union basically said, okay, we have to go anti-aircraft guns everywhere, and Ukraine inherited a lot from that, so they still have a huge inventory of capabilities.
There's a difference between war now and earlier. If you look at suppression of enemy air defense system, basically, so you have the fighter sweeps and you have the SEAD missions to eliminate all air defense, and you can use the same missiles which the US is using. I think the HARMS. The Russians also have the similar missiles, but the thing is, you can only fire them once the radar is turned on. So you do need to take some risk, be within range, have long enough for the missile to be guided to the target, or it might be a fire and forget, which are more expensive. But the point is, you wouldn't be sure till you're in the area to be certain that the target has been destroyed. And we're not talking about SA-8s, SA-6s. We're talking SA-13s. We're talking much more advanced anti-aircraft. Basically, even the AAA, the flak that they're using, they are now NATO. These are not weapons which the Ukrainians could afford on their own dime, usually. They're using very sophisticated weapons. So the Russians, then, they are prepared for an air war, but they are also waiting for the contingency that NATO enters the war, in which case they would require the Russian fighter force to actually be able to fight. If you look at the performance of the Russian fighter force, they have been excellent. It's really the bombers which have failed. And the bombers have failed because you don't really want to lose your top bombers to enemy air defense systems when NATO could be the real
Sorry, but not only that, but Russia doesn't have a proper strike aircraft like F-35. They don't have such a weapon yet. So the aircraft that they will send, it's in a risk of.
That's not. I mean, you just really require a weapon system which can deploy. So if you can deploy a HARM to a MiG-29 as well, which has been done. So the Ukrainians are actually using the MiG-29 to deploy their arms. So you can use the aircraft to destroy. The problem is that if the weapon system is too far inside, so Wyatt always, when he does the summary, he talks about how far inside the aircraft was shot down. That's very relevant because you would basically, so if you don't want to cross the border, you will come close, you will try to have the enemy turn on their radar, and then you will make them fire. So that, but that places that you at risk. So ideally, you wouldn't want to cross. If you do cross, you're seeing a lot more enemy systems which you didn't even know existed. So the Russians haven't really gone deep in and don't really know how many enemy defense systems exist. Actually,
Right.
They did know at the beginning of the war. They no longer know, and they don't know where they're deployed. And a lot of NATO weaponry has come in. They don't really understand what their ranges are, how effective they are.
I think I must be right, because in the beginning they were always talking about how many they destroyed.
Okay, so I want to add my opinion. So why we are not seeing the massive Russian air power like how we see in the Gulf War is one of the big reasons I believe is that they are holding back. What Russians are holding back because to Russia the real threat is NATO, it's not Ukraine. As far as my coverage go, I believe that the Ukrainian Air Force, the original Ukrainian Air Force, was already wiped out within the first month to third month. By third month, I don't really report much of any shoot downs. Then came after that, we came all these main refurbished one or the ones coming from the Eastern Europe fighters. That's when we start to see Ukrainian Air Force again. So that's one reason. The second reason is Russia do not use Air Force the same way as the Americans. If you look at how
different doctrine.
Yeah, totally different. So for example, we talk about how the Americans fought the Gulf War. They sent in all the fighters, the stealth bombers, and then the B-52s, and then they hit all the infrastructures. The Russians didn't plan to hit all the infrastructure, which is also part of the reason why we didn't see massive air power. Second thing is that the infrastructures are still destroyed by now. So and this is all launched by cruise missiles and also air launched cruise missiles. So how I look at it was that a lot of these bombs that the Russians are using are all cruise missiles, even though they are all launched from the air power, but they don't even need to get close to the border to launch on all these missiles. So sometimes it's very mind blowing when they say, they use the massive bombers to bomb certain places, but you don't really see the planes fly over because they are all using cruise missiles. So
but what Toby was trying to say was why they don't use conventional bombs, not cruise bombs and deploy them from the Russian border.
So if you're talking about dumb bombs, they did use only in very rare instances where the surface-to-air missile system was totally wiped out. So I did see them used, in Spurny.
In Mariupol, I think also, right? In Mariupol, in the Azovstal things.
Yeah, and
I think it was also bombers.
It's very
rare.
There
were also some Su-34 strikes in Kherson, like one or two. I remember you reported.
Couple.
Yeah. So it's very rare because the danger of even manpads is it's crazy.
Right.
So they are not taking all these risks because there's no need for them to take risks. They already wipe out the Ukrainian Air Force 3 times already. So they first the original Air Force, then the reinforced Air Force, then the refurbished the old aircraft Air Force. It's all gone. What is the last time you see the Ukrainian videos of Ukrainian Air Force nowadays? We hardly see them anymore because I think most of them are all wiped out or they do not dare to fly. So we still have the Ukrainian Air Force trying to intercept the drones. We don't even see these Air Force fighters anymore. So and that was like a month ago at least. So the Russians don't really need to inject such massive air power. I think they are reserving all this air power in case they need to go to war with NATO, which they don't think it will happen, but they have to do the due diligence.